Good morning to everyone. This is Navin Kumar, Assistant Professor, Department of CSC, Annamachala University. Today I will explain about ISO-OSI reference model in computer networks. So ISO-OSI reference model. ISO-OSI stands for International Standard Organization Open System Interconnection. OSI reference model, which was developed by ISO, International Standard Organization, in the year 1984. So ISO-OSI reference model total consists of 7 layers. So each layer has well-defined specific functionalities. So what is the main objective of this OSI reference model? So OSI reference model, these total 7 layers work collaboratively to transmit the data from one system to another system. That is the main objective of OSI reference model. So what are the total layers in OSI reference model? So total 7 layers. So the first layer is physical layer, and next second layer is data link layer, and next third layer is network layer, and fourth layer is transport layer, and fifth layer is session layer, and sixth one is presentation layer, and seventh one is application layer. These total 7 layers are represented in this architectural way. So that is, the topmost layer is application layer and the bottommost layer is physical layer. So that is the representation from application layer, presentation layer, session layer, transport layer, network layer, data link layer, physical layer. These layers are represented from top to bottom. So each layer having some individual specific functionalities performed. So in the coming to the architecture, so we have two levels, that is host 1 and host 2. Host 1 side we need to represent the 7 layers from top to bottom, and host 2 side also we need to represent from top to bottom. So it is a representation way, but each layer adjacent we have protocols. So application layer from host 1, host 2, we need to communicate with the help of application layer protocol. Presentation layer, parallelly we have presentation protocol, and each similarly for each layer we have adjacent protocols. So what is the use of this protocol? Protocol, it maintains and performs the specific functionalities at each level. So coming to the next one, interfaces. For each layers adjacent we have interfaces. From application layer, presentation layer, we have interface that is called as application presentation layer interface, which provides the communication from one layer to another layer. Similarly, presentation session layer also we have interface that we are calling as presentation and session layer interface. And coming to the next, similarly, session layer, transport layer, network layer, data link layer, physical layer, each one we have adjacent interfaces. It helps to provide the communication from one layer to another layer. So we will see one by one what is the individual functionalities of each layer. So these are the 7 layers. We will see one by one from physical layer to the application layer. So coming to the first one is physical layer. It is the first layer in OSI reference model, that is the bottommost layer. So the physical layer is the lowest layer in OSI reference model. So the main objective of this physical layer, the physical layer will transmit the data in the form of bits. Bits, that is either in terms of zeros and ones. Over a network communication, the data should be transmitted either zeros and ones in the form of bits. So this physical layer bit representation and control the data rates. So that is also one of the major functionality of physical layer. So the physical layer will transmit the signals either in the form of analog and digital file. That is, a signaling type is either analog and digital. As well as the physical layer, it performs the encoding and decoding mechanisms. So that is conversion of bits. So that is conversion of bits means in terms of analog and digital to be transmitted in the form of electrical signals or optical signals. So, and one more functionality of physical layer, we need to provide the connection either simplex and half duplex and full duplex transmission mode. So coming to the simplex, so the major difference between simplex, half duplex and full duplex, in simplex we need to provide one-way communication. For example, we need to provide the communication from sender to receiver. So it is only possible either sender to receiver or receiver to sender. So that is only one-way communication. Coming to the half duplex we need to provide the communication from sender to receiver as well as receiver to sender. But both at a time it is not possible. So coming to the full duplex, So it is exactly similar to the half duplex, but in full duplex, we need to perform the multiple transactions simultaneously, that is sender to receiver and receiver to sender. Both the transactions should be transmitted at a time. And coming to the next data link layer, it is a second layer in OSI reference model. So, but the data represented in data link layer, it transmits the data in the form of frames. What is meant by frame? Frame nothing but it is a collection of bits. So the group of bits we are calling as frames. So the major functionality of this data link layer, data transfer is error free. For you need to transfer the data from one node to another node over a network communication. So that is responsible for hope to data delivery. And next one is the major functionality of this data link layer, transmitting and receiving the data frames in sequential manner. And the data link layer, it enables error detection and error correction. That is a major role and major functionality of data link layer in OSI reference model. What is meant by error detection? What is meant by error correction? Error detection, it helps to identify the errors over a network communication to transmit the frames. Error correction means we need to after identifying the errors, we need to rectifying those errors. So we have several error detection, error correction mechanisms, that is CRC, Hamming code, so one bit parity check, two-dimensional parity check. So we have several types of error detection methods. We need to rectifying and identifying the errors over a data communication during transmission of frames. So coming to the next layer, network layer. This is a third layer in OSI reference model. So in physical layer, we need to transmit the data in the form of bits. And next layer, we need to transmit the data in the form of frames, that is data link layer. Next network layer, we need to transmit the data in the form of packets. Packet means it is a collection of frames. In simple terms, we are calling as packet nothing but is a small amount of data. So the network layer, transmission of data from one host to another host located in the different networks. So what at different network communications, we need to send the information from one host to another host through the packets only. So it also takes a packet routing decisions. So packet routing decisions means we need to select the shortest path. So out of different multiple paths, we need to select the shortest path. So and one more important functionality, we need to perform the network controller over a subnet traffic. So during transmission of data, we need to manage the subnet traffic also. It is also one of the major functionality. It decides which route should be taken to save delivery of packets. So and as well as during a subnet traffic, the important functionality is we need to maintain a routing table. So the major advantage of this routing table is we need to manage the network congestion rate. So that congestion means interrupts. We need to reduce the interrupt rates. So the network layer, we need to convert the logical address to the physical address. So these are the major functionalities of network layer. Logical address to physical address conversion, we need to maintain the subnet network traffic, as well as we need to maintain the shortest path selection, and as well as we need to maintain the data transmission in the form of packets. So coming to the next one, transport layer. So it is the middle layer. Either we need to consider as top to bottom or bottom to top. So the transport layer, you need to take a parallel path selection or single path selection. So here the data represented in the form of segments. It is responsible for end-to-end data transfer with the help of segmentation. So it is important one, segmentation. So that is break the data group into a smaller units. So one more important functionality of transport layer, it performs the flow control and error control mechanisms. Flow control and error control. These are the two major roles performed by the transport layer. Why we are using these two means we need to perform the reliable data delivery or the sequence of data delivery over a network communication from one host to another host. While transmission of these segmentation, we need to add the port address. So what is the use of this port address? We need to identify the specific application or process in the network, and as well as the congestion control. So these are the main objectives of transport layer. And coming to the session layer, Session layer performs the following major functionalities. So this layer process to add the checkpoints. So what is the use of these checkpoints? These checkpoints we need to reduce the error rates during transmission of data sequentially and continuously. This synchronization helps to identify the errors so that the data is resynchronized properly. And as well as it performs one more important major functionality, dialogue control. It allows two systems to start the communication with each other. That is supported by the half duplex and full duplex communication. Half duplex, coming to half duplex we need to perform the transaction from sender to receiver and receiver to sender. But both simultaneously communication is not possible with the help of half duplex. Either we need to perform sender to receiver communication or receiver to sender communication, but not it is possible at a time. But in full duplex communication, it is possible to perform the simultaneous operations between the sender and receiver. And one more important major function of session layer, we need to establish the communication and we need to manage the communication, as well as after completion of the communication, we need to release the communication over a network. So that is the major objective of session layer. And coming to the presentation layer, the presentation layer performs the major functionalities. It is also called as a translation layer. Why we are calling as it is a translation layer means it performs the two major roles, that is encryption and decryption. So encryption means we need to convert the plain text to the ciphertext. So what is meant by plain text? What is meant by ciphertext? Plain text means the actual information given by the user. Ciphertext means the converted message, that is secure message. So similarly the decryption which converts the ciphertext to the plain text. Encryption means which converts from plain text to ciphertext, and decryption means which converts the ciphertext to the plain text. And as well as it performs a compression. So what is the meaning of this compression? Reduce the number of bits that need to be transmitted over a network communication from one host to the another host. So that is objective of presentation layer. Coming to the next layer, application layer. Application layer is the topmost layer in OSI reference model. So it performs a major role to access the network resources. It provides the network services applications directly communicated with the help of web browsers. Either we are using any web browser, Mozilla, Google Chrome, Internet Explorer. These resources to be communicated from one host to another host with the help of only application layer. That's why we are calling as user interface layer or the topmost layer in the OSI reference model. And it performs the following major functionalities: manipulation of information. So what type of manipulations we need to do? Retransmission of files, distribution of the results over a network communication that verifies authentication details, that is user authentication details to perform the transactions. So it supports different types of protocols we need to maintain by providing different types of services: email services, file transfer services, web services. But each service we need to maintain individual protocol, that is SMTP protocol, that is simple mail transfer protocol. It helps to provide the email services, HTTP protocol, hypertext transfer protocol, as well as file transfer protocol. We need to transfer the files with the help of FTP, file transfer protocol. So these are the total 7 layers we have in OSI reference model. We need to communicate over a network from one host to another host. So that is the major functionalities of each layer. So thank you.